Alright, hello YouTube people. Yeah, I know I haven't posted a video in a long time. One of the reasons was, I've been with my gardening. Last year was a really bad year. We had, the big flood, and then, the plants kind of came back around. And then they just took, I did a lot of fertilizing and compost tea, and I brought them to life, and I mean, they just took off. And I had just humongous plants, the biggest, most awesome tomato plants I've ever seen in my life, I've ever had. I was so happy. And then we just went through this heat, drought thing, and disease kind of took over. And what was really disheartening was that I had, plants that were just laden with tomatoes. And some of them were, I honestly had one tomato that I thought if it would probably hit the 2-pound range. I'm not trying to grow the biggest tomato in the world, but that's how well they were growing. And then this disease that hit everybody around here, and it just decimated it. Within 2 weeks, everything was pretty well dead. And I tried to save some. I pulled a lot of the tomatoes and let them try to ripen, and they just weren't that great. So I'm doing something different this year. I think one of the problems is that I've been growing in the same boxes every year for the last 4 or 5 years now, and which is not a good thing. I mean, you got to rotate your plants if possible. They build up. The soil builds up disease and whatnot. I'm trying to be organic, and a big part of that is rotating your crops every year. And I haven't been doing that, and so I wanted to do something about that this year. And let me show you where, well, we'll go out here and see what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go over to my, the boxes that have shown in every video. Okay. I've done some composting and fertilizing and kind of getting them ready. It's still cold. It's too cold to be planting, but I do have seedlings going and whatnot. And so I'm going to go with these 2 boxes that I've had my tomatoes in. I'm going to put in some other varieties of plants this time. No tomatoes in these boxes. I did start another box. I found this crate somewhere. I'm slowly filling it up with soil and stuff, and this is going to be tomatoes. I've got these poles that I built in, into it, and so this is going to be 2 tomatoes, 2 big ones. The biggest ones that I have are going to be in here, and then what I'm doing here, I have these poles that I put up. I've got this fencing. This stuff you can get at Lowe's or wherever. It's a little too narrow for tomato cages, but it'll be great for beans, or I think I may try to do some cucumbers in here, although I know they're in the same family as the tomato, but maybe they'll do all right. And what I just have them temporary, just tie wrapped across. I'm going to come back with some actual wire and tie everything off good and tight, because these tie wraps, they'll, with the heat and all in the summer, they'll give, and the weight of the cucumbers or whatever I decide to grow. So I'm going to put across diagonally, one here and one here, a piece of fencing, and I'm going to have some other stuff kind of in, around it too. So there we go. And then, like I said, I got this new tomato box here. This is a tomato box. Okay, and then on the side of the house, I've got an area here, and then I've got some roses and whatnot. But from this rose over about midway is carrots, and then from there on over to the edge, I've got some spinach. I'm just going for it. I mean, I don't know how they'll do, but hey, it's better than just not doing anything. So we'll see how they go, and I'll update you guys and on how that goes. You know, we had a really nice weekend last week, and it got me in that mood, you know, to plant seeds, and it's going to be nice. Well, then we had a freaking cold snap all week. It's been almost to freezing at night, so nothing sprouted or anything, but hopefully, you know, it will. All right, so I'm gonna show you what I've got germinating and my little setup with my lights and stuff. Now, don't laugh, because I know it's kind of Sanford and Son looking setup, and it was I threw it together in the last minute. I'm not one for planning too much, but it's working. It's working really well, actually. But I'll go ahead and show you guys, all right, and give you a little idea of what. And I've done this every year, so it works, but it's not the prettiest setup, but it does work. I mean, it actually works very well. So let me show you what I got here, all right. I've got an entertainment center from the, you know, that we threw out, and I got it sitting against the wall in the garage, and right above it I've got a window here, and then I've got some cabinet I threw up from the kitchen that we did a remodel, and that there is Mylar. I just bought a roll of Mylar, which is a reflective material, and it's fireproof pretty much. It doesn't burn, so in case something got too hot. But anyway, and then I've got a little cheap digital thermometer. It has as you can see, it's reading 54 degrees in the garage, but it's reading 71.1 degrees in the my little germination area here, because it has a little probe with a wire that goes in there. And so I can kind of keep track of what the temperature is. Now on this here, let me move that. I've got a heating mat. Hold on, let me move this out of the way. Give me a sec. What I've got is I've got a heating mat, just, you know, the typical heating mat you can buy for a flat, up under here. And I keep that plugged in all the time. And these, hell, let me turn the light on so you can see better. Let me plug everything in so before I'll explain why I don't have it plugged in. Hold on, let me get this out of the way. But anyway, these are all tomatoes. This is a 72 cell. This is the 72 cell growing doohickey. These are all tomatoes, and each row is a variety. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows. 10 of them are tomatoes. This here with the red stems, it's a beet. This is a beet plant that I threw in there as well. Okay, this row here, nothing is sprouted, but it is a pepper plant. It's like a bell pepper. It's called a cereola pepper, and it's a real thick-walled bell pepper plant that is awesome for stuffing. Those haven't come up yet. I think they will, but I think they like a much warmer temperature to sprout. That's the way peppers are. They love their warmth. Okay. In the first row, I've got Red Boar, which is from I can't remember the company. It's a medium-sized red tomato. The next one is Pink Tie-Dye, which is a variety of a sprout from Green Zebra that has red and then metallic green stripes through it. The next one is called Purple Comet. And then I've got, these are Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. This is a variety. I've only had one sprout so far. I think the seeds are kind of old though. And it's called Purple Dog Creek. And the reason I wanted to grow those is because they're a Kentucky heirloom, which isn't far from Tennessee. And they're supposed to be a really good tomato. Okay, this next one, which is just doing wonderfully, is Tidwell German, which is a huge beefsteak type tomato. Next to that I have Aunt Jenny's, which is a medium-sized red tomato, and it's supposed to rival the flavor, if not beat the flavor, of a brandy wine. Next to that, this is Sue, which is a cherry tomato. Or no, well, I'm not sure, but it's a smaller tomato, but it's supposed to be really good. The next one I have is Amazon Chocolate, which is, you know, an Amazon, it's a dark version of the Amazon type tomato. Next to that, I have Brandywine. These are brandy wines. This is the Sudeth strain, which is supposed to be really popular. And then, of course, the purple is the beets. And then in front of that, and I just grew a few of these. I got these from Carolyn Mail. These are Lincoln Adams. This is some seeds somebody sent me to try. And it's sort of a medium red tomato. Alright, so there's my tomatoes. And what I've got here, I've got 4 fluorescent bulbs and a heating mat. And I use the metallic sheeting over it to kind of reflect more light when I have the lighting on. And they love it. And here's something that while I'm here, I'll go ahead and say, you want your seedlings as close to the light. They can touch the light. It's not hot. But you want your seedlings as close to that light as possible. You don't want it 2 inches below or 3 or anything like that. You always want your, from what I've learned, you always want those seedlings right up on that light. And as they get taller, what I do, my light is fixed. I can't raise or lower my light. But what I do is I have my my shelf on some blocks. And what I'll do is I'll put some shorter pieces here. So I'm basically, what I do is I just lower the plants as they get taller. I tried the raising the light up and down with chains and all that kind of stuff. And I said to heck with that. I just lower the plants as time goes by. I just take pieces of wood, brick, anything I can find, drop them an inch or so, let them grow, drop them another inch or so, let them grow until they're ready to be transplanted into a larger, like a 4-inch pot or whatever. Okay, and then here I have 4 8-foot fluorescent lights. And I've got, I'll just be brief, I've got lettuce and cabbages and all kinds of different things growing. And you can see how close that is to the light, but that's what they like. That keeps them from getting real spindly. And another tip I'll give is I never spray the plants or water the plants. I have them in trays, just like this tray. I put water in the tray. If you keep the topsoil too wet, then you got to worry about that damping off and killing. You can come out the next day and all your plants are dead. They fell over because that it'll build a mold on top of the soil and it'll girdle the plant and kill it. So, but I've never had that problem. I can honestly say in 5 years I've never once had that happen. But I never pour water in the actual cup. I let it seep up into the cup. All these cups have holes in them. And the same with this tray. All these little cells have holes underneath and they soak up the water. And it's better to be a little on the drier side than the wet side. So, you know, that's a good tip. Never spray or mist, or, you know, I know some places say to do that. I don't do that. I mean, never have. And I've never had a problem with my plants just falling over dead. I mean, that would suck after 2 or 3 weeks of hard work. But anyway, so there's my, that's my seedlings that I have going. All these seeds were planted a week ago, so that's pretty good for a week. You know, I've had good success here, it looks like. Now, as these plants get their leaves, their main leaves, I mean, these are the initial leaves, I forget the name of them. They're not the true leaves, but once they start getting their leaves, I start watering them with a sea magic mix, which has a lot of minerals and stuff in it. Just a light mix of that, and maybe just a very light bit of fertilizer. I just keep it real light though. Keep it real light. You know. But as far as the medium I'm using is plain old Jiffy Mix. It has no fertilizer. It has no soil. It's a peat-based type stuff. That's what I'm used to, so that's what I always use. And it's cheap. You can get it anywhere. You don't need fertilizer when you're growing seeds. It's all contained in that seed. So, but anyway, that's that.